G'day guys, it's summertime here in Australia, and around Christmas time most of Australia takes the next 2 or 3 weeks off work to rest, relax, recharge. That's not how I do it though. I'm busy, I've got work to do. So over the next 2 or 3 weeks I've got a couple of projects in mind that I hope to get completed in that 3-week time, and if I've got a little bit of spare time we'll do some other things as well. So what I have planned is to get a TV unit done. So it's pretty basic, and that's going to be for myself. And I also want to get this bedside tables done. I want to make 2 of these bedside tables, and they'll be for sale when they're ready to be sold. And hopefully somebody loves them enough to buy them. So you might notice I've got a bit of crap here in front of my saw. I've got some long lengths over here, I've got some shorter lengths over here, and my 2 benches are filled with timber underneath. It's a bit of a problem for me at the moment because I've got to step over everything and I've got to squeeze in beside the saw and cut things. It's kind of annoying, but small shop, these are the problems that I have to deal with. Anyways, I've got some Tasmanian oak. I've got quite a bit of this because this is basically the cheapest hardwood in Australia that you can buy. This was, let's say, $10 a metre, so 10 bucks, 17 bucks for that length there. I've got some back sawn jarrah, or back sawn, which is basically flat sawn. It's a little bit harder than the Tasmanian oak. It's heavier, it's denser, and it's a deep red colour there. This is the most expensive timber that I bought here. So this was, let's say, $15 a metre. So 15 here, then $22 up to the end there for that board there. And I've got some blackwood. This is also back sawn material, but I'm just looking at this board here. It's back sawn to about here, and then that other half is quarter sawn. So I've got a bit of a mix between that stuff. This is prime grade, which is, it's not quite select grade and it's not quite standard or better. It's somewhere in between. Basically, I've got a little knot there. It goes all the way through. I know, it's nice enough, but this wasn't quite as expensive as the jarrah, but it's more expensive than the Tasmanian oak. So this is a very nice timber. It's quite light. It's the softest timber out of the 3. It's the lightest timber of the 3, but it's probably the nicest of the 3 as well. So let's say I bought 100 meters of Tasmanian oak, about 70 meters of blackwood, and I think only about 30 meters of the jarrah, because that's what I've done. Now, so with that in mind, I'm going to hopefully get a video up each day over the next 3 weeks, just like I did last year building that baby cot for my sister. Except this year I'm not going to do one massive project. I'm going to do a few of these little projects: the TV unit, the bedside tables, and whatever else pops into my little head. Little head, big fat head, yeah. All right, and you might notice I've got a little duver here on my chest. New sound system, hopefully it's a little clearer, a little better. All right, so for now, I'm going to get some Tasmanian oak and start working on the TV unit, get the 3 panels glued up, the top shelf, bottom shelf, and I need to glue up a longer shelf or a longer panel so that I can cut it into 4 pieces to get the 4 uprights. And that will consume all of my clamps for the day probably. And then I'll start working on the bedside table, so it's going to be TV unit, bedside tables, TV unit, bedside tables, just so that I can optimize the use of my minimal set of clamps. You can never have too many clamps, but goddamn, they're expensive to have too many. Right, so that's the milling done for the 3 panels that I need to glue up for this TV unit. And in recent times, I never used to do this, but in recent times, I'd go and buzz and joint everything, and then I'd bring it back over, slide them together like that, level that up, clamp together, put it into my vise, get my hand plane and shoot the edges perfectly straight. Now, I never used to do that because it takes a hell of a lot of time, but I'm running a little bit ahead of schedule this morning, so I've got a little bit of spare time and I kind of enjoy doing it, so I'm just going to do it because it does make a slightly better joint, especially on the longer panels. It makes it easier to give a slight hollow joint. That means when I put those 2 panels together, there'll be a slight gap in the middle, but it'll be pressed hard up here and hard up there together, so that when I clamp it all together, it effectively deforms the timber in the middle. It squishes it all together, so that in order for that joint to pop apart tomorrow, next month, next year, in a decade's time, what it needs to do, instead of just splitting at the ends, it needs to pull the entire joint apart all at once. Very hard to do. It's kind of like getting a bit of sticky tape. Oops. Putting it down there. Now if I take my glove off, if I wanted to peel that off, I'd peel it from the ends, right? But consider this, try peeling it up off the surface from the middle. You could peel it off of the edge there and then get under it, and then you could really wrench it. But in order for it to separate from the timber, you need to take that entire piece off all at once. It's very hard to do. So once I've got a full length shaving across the entire width on both of the panels, I want to take a shaving in the middle, slightly longer shaving, and then one full length shaving. So when I hold this up against the light source there, I hold it together and I press it hard together in the middle of the panel there. I don't press it hard together at the ends. Then I hold it up in front of the light source, and then I just roll it this way and that way, and I look through and I see if I'm looking to see if I can see any light coming through. I need 3 hands. Any light coming through at the ends here. If there's any light at the ends, that's really bad. If there's light coming through in the middle, so long as it's only like the thickness of a piece of paper or less, that's perfect, that's beautiful. So put it together, give it a wiggle, that's good. On the bottom, that's good. In the middle, and yep, I can see the slightest crack of light coming through that edge. Perfect. So here's a really nice example of the hollow joint that I'm looking to achieve with the hand plane there. Now, it's nice and tight at that end and nice and tight at that end. There's no gap between the 2 boards at each end. But in the middle, I hope that you can see there's a black line there. That's actually a gap. Now I've got a set of feeler gauges here. I've got 0.63 of a millimeter, 0.5 of a millimeter, 0.4 of a millimeter, and 0.35 of a millimeter. Now 0.35 is 14 thou. So 0.63, we'll have a look at that. Doesn't fit. 0.5 doesn't fit. 0.4 doesn't fit. I've already tested this before I started filming. 0.35 fits perfect. It's a perfect joint. So across 1.4 meters, which is a little bit less than 5 feet, I've got 0.35 of a millimeter of gap, or 14 thou gap. When I get my clamp and put that directly over the center and just tighten it up to bring the 2 pieces together, if you watch that black line just disappear, it's now gone, and this is a nice tight joint all the way along the length. You just can't see the joint. The only way you can see the joint is where the grain just runs out, and you can see that there's a difference in grain between here and there, but you can't actually see the joint itself. And so that's good, that's nice and solid. You see how the bead of glue is formed along the entire length there? That's a hollow joint. So I don't really need these clamps, but I've got them, I use them. So now while I'm waiting for those clamps to clamp those two panels up, I can use my smaller clamps up here to clamp up the legs for the two bedside tables that I'm going to work with. So I'm going to dock up these couple of pieces of blackwood into roughly 600mm lengths, and then rip them into 3 and get 2 of those 2 panels there, glue them together to make a 40 by 40 stick of wood for each of the legs. So I need 8 legs. Let's do it. Now, because it's such a wide glue surface, we're going to crank the hell out of these clamps to get as much glue out of the joint as possible, because there's still going to be way too much glue in there to begin with. See, all that glue straight out. So I'll take these off so that they don't get stuck to it. And I'm done for the day. Alright, so I've got that medium panel glued up, I've got that bigger panel behind there glued up, I've got the other big panel glued up for the TV unit, and then I've got 4 of the 8 legs for the bedside tables glued up. I'll glue up the other 4 tomorrow. It only takes me 10 minutes. Easy to glue up legs, and I'm not in a rush for them. So tomorrow, because I'll be back tomorrow, be sure to subscribe and like this video and share it around, and leave a comment if you're not happy with the way that I've done it. And if you are happy with the way that I've done it, great. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to cut that little one into 4 pieces. I'll smooth plane the big one, smooth plane the other big one, join the 4 pieces to the 2 big ones, make the TV unit, top section, and then I'll scratch my head and figure out how I'm going to make those curved legs. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do bent lamination, but if I get lucky and I find a piece of timber with a perfect bend through the grain, I might be able to do that and just do it nice and easy, but the timber's fairly straight grained. No chance of finding it. So I have to do it the hard way. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be back quick as a flash.